that sort of shook us all pretty much. I mean, I can remember going out in the parking lot in back of one of the buildings over here in the early evening, and we could see the doggone thing flying overhead, and that was really quite an experience to know that those, the Russians had done it and we hadn't.
Родился новый спутник.
We were very disappointed when the first one launched because we knew darn well that the Vanguard was in trouble, and we knew darn well that we could launch a satellite anytime we were told to.
And then the political reaction began.
President Eisenhower reassures the nation that Russia's success with the first satellite does not indicate a serious lag in American rocket research.
Vanguard, for the reasons indicated, has not had equal priority with that accorded our ballistic missile work.
Eisenhower was very calm about this, and in some level he was working with information that he could not share with others. In the latter part of October, and especially in the first part of November after Sputnik 2, everybody's afraid. They're running around with their hair on fire.
Sputniks and Mudniks flying through the air. Sputniks and Mudniks flying everywhere. They're so ironic. Are they atomic? Those funny missiles have got me scared.
Eisenhower's call for calm was swept away when the Soviets struck again, this time by launching Sputnik 2, an 1,100-pound satellite carrying the first living creature to reach orbit.
The strangest looking objects I ever saw from space, with a dog inside that got to ride into the USA to see our hound dog or American groundhog. That Russian canine can't stand the pace. Sputniks and Mudniks flying through the air. Sputniks and Mudniks flying everywhere. They're so ironic. Are they atomic? Those funny missiles have got me scared.
2 days after the launch of Sputnik 2 in November 1957, the New York Times reported that scientists around the world were worried that the Soviets might be readying to explode a hydrogen bomb on the moon, a firework display to mark the 40th anniversary of the Bolshevik Revolution. As strange as the idea sounds, Pickering's JPL team was thinking along the same lines at the same time.
After Sputnik, there was a sense that the United States needed to do something dramatic in response. And so a number of schemes were floated. One of those which probably seems the most bizarre in retrospect was Project Red Sox, which would have involved sending a missile to the moon with an atomic bomb, which could have been exploded there. It certainly would have been dramatic. It would have created a lot of attention. It probably would have also created an international firestorm of reaction, completely inconsistent with the idea that the Eisenhower administration had advanced of a peaceful approach to space exploration.
Eisenhower's reaction to the Red Sox scheme was to declare, "We have no enemies on the moon." Meanwhile, his ratings in the polls plunged 22 points.
I consider our country's satellite program to be well designed and properly scheduled to achieve the scientific purposes for which it was initiated. We are, therefore, carrying the program forward in keeping with our arrangements with the international scientific community.
Eisenhower finally came to understand that the only way to tranquilize the nation was to give the American people a satellite.
Under enormous pressure, the White House decided that a planned test flight of the Vanguard rocket with its small science payload was to be transformed into the American response to Sputnik.
America's first attempt to launch a satellite. A 6.5-inch sphere weighing just over 3 pounds was checked out by scientists and declared ready. A great wave of advanced publicity focused attention at Cape Canaveral, Florida, for the launching of Test Vehicle 3 of Project Vanguard, a preliminary to the scheduled launching of a 21-pound satellite in March. What happened is already unhappy history. Another setback for the United States in the race into outer space. Here are official Defense Department films of the launching of the 72-foot missile, a loss of thrust, and fall back to Earth in split seconds. Classified. Neither the satellite program nor our missile development is affected, said Acting Defense Secretary Quarles. It's only an incident in the perfection of the Vanguard satellite system.
The whole world goes nuts. I mean, Flopnik and Excusenik, and there's just all these mocking headlines. And the next morning, in the New York Stock Exchange closes. There's such fear in the United States that we have just had this colossal explosion. We brought every reporter, and there's this huge failure. And it's just, and it's all on. It's the first big thing on television. It screams, "Oh my God, it's exploding!" And the next day, the Russians go to the United Nations and offer us technological aid as a backward country. They actually offered to help us out as a, and they loved that. They loved tweaking us at that point.
To have the communists lead in technology, to pioneer a new frontier of infinite size, in a sense, to capture the future, the symbolism was horrifying. What did this mean? That the future belongs to communism? That if we Americans are going to, leapfrog the Soviets and get back on top, we're going to have to become more like them?
With Vanguard in shambles, Eisenhower relented. Medeiros, von Braun, and Pickering were finally given what they wanted, their chance to reach orbit. The importance placed on finally being given an official go-ahead to launch a satellite can be found in films made about Explorer.
An official television report of the United States Army, produced for the armed forces and the American people.
Among the moments memorialized in reenactment was word to proceed with a launch attempt.
A sudden meeting has been called by General John B. Medeiros, Commanding General of the Army Ballistic Missile Agency.
Good morning, gentlemen. Be seated, please. I have a very important announcement for you. We've been assigned the mission of launching a scientific Earth satellite. And we will use the Jupiter-C configuration as a carrier that we developed along with the Jet Propulsion Laboratory.
When you talk about this recreation of the decision point to move forward with Explorer, it's that they are very clearly given formal orders to accomplish the task. They'd been wanting to do it all along and had been stopped at every turn. And so here they have, and it's very important to them, an order to go do it.
Not to be outdone, JPL created its own version of the launch go-ahead, this one in color.
The Secretary of Defense announced this morning that the Army is to participate in the International Geophysical Year satellite program.
Both films stressed the deadline of 90 days, but no mention was made of the unauthorized preparations that had already taken place. And so was born the legend that the response to Sputnik had taken less than 90 days from start to launch.
The Army is requesting the jet propulsion.
I promised the Secretary of the Army that we would be ready in 90 days or less. Let's go, Werner.
This is what they've been waiting for. The deadline is 90 days. 90 days to put a satellite into orbit.